Hello and welcome to the Kim Iverson Show. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. The Epstein documents have dropped. Everybody's been waiting for these, and I'm going to say I don't think there was some huge revelations in this. I think a lot of the names we were really aware of, but now we're actually seeing more of the details of what was alleged against some of these people who are named in the documents. So just to be clear, just so everybody understands what these documents are, these are released court transcripts. So these are depositions. These are requests by the court, by attorneys on both sides. So this is just sort of a trove, one part. Now, there are more documents that have dropped, but we're only going to go over the first 900 and some odd pages tonight. And then there have been more documents that have dropped, but we're going to be kind of combing through those as the days go on and see if there's maybe more really interesting information. But in the first 900 pages, there's been some pretty interesting stuff. A lot of it is not interesting at all. So when you're looking through these 900 court documents, you're seeing a lot of court-like stuff, really boring, or they're saying we want to depose this person, or we want to talk to this person, or we're, just kind of like benign stuff, just court proceeding stuff. But some of it's really juicy. So we're going to go through what we know from these first 900 pages. This is from the lawsuit between Virginia Giuffre and Ghislaine Maxwell. After that lawsuit, Virginia Giuffre went and sued again to release all of these documents. There have been a couple of redactions. The court said that they would redact names of maybe victims who were underage at the time, who did not want their names released, but we don't really fully know who the redacted names are. So we're only kind of guessing at this point. All right, so let's start off. What did we learn from the documents? First of all, Bill Clinton was named 73 times in the released documents. Now, most of what was said about Bill Clinton was benign. Things like document requests, for example. Let me read you an excerpt. From January 2012 to the present, produce all documents concerning any source of funding for the Tara Mar project or any other not-for-profit entities with which you are associated, including but not limited to funding received from the Clinton Global Initiative, the Clinton Foundation, aka William J. Clinton Foundation, aka the Bill and Hillary and Chelsea Clinton Foundation, and the Clinton Foundation Climate Change Initiative. That right there has Clinton's name. So I should be clear, Clinton's name is mentioned, or the word Clinton is mentioned 73 times. Bill Clinton himself is mentioned about 50 times. But this is just an example of how those times add up, because right there you've got funding received from the Clinton Global Initiative, the Clinton Foundation, aka the Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton Foundation, and the Clinton Foundation Climate Change Initiative. So just in that one paragraph of asking for documents, of a document request, that was 5 mentions of Clinton, I should say, of the 73. So a lot of it is like that going through these documents. So when you hear in the media, his name was mentioned 50 times or 73 times or 100 and something odd times when it gets to Alan Dershowitz, for example, just know that a lot of it is like that through these documents if you don't want to peruse all 900 and some odd pages yourself. There are requests also to depose Bill Clinton. So, for example, one of the quotes in here is the witnesses include 1, President Bill Clinton, a witness that plaintiff initiated informal attempts to depose on June 9th. So that's another mention of Bill Clinton's name. A lot of mentions of his name are repeated from other mentions. So they're literally copied and pasted the same exact paragraph throughout the documents. So, when searching through and looking for somebody's name, you got to really start, you've got to kind of parse through each of these really benign, boring, and repetitive times that they're mentioned. However, where it gets interesting with Bill Clinton is the deposition of Joanna Sojberg. She talks about Bill Clinton being a friend of Jeffrey Epstein and having seen him a few times. So Bill Clinton is not, in all of these documents, he has not been implicated in any direct wrongdoing. There's been some mentions of him sitting next to young girls, but there's never been any actual accusation of, I gave him a massage, I had sex with him, I saw him have sex with somebody else, or receive a massage from somebody else, or heard somebody tell me that they gave him a massage. Like, nothing like that was said about Bill Clinton in these documents. I know much to the dismay of a lot of people who were really hoping. Here is one of the excerpts from the actual documents. This is the deposition of Johanna Soberg. She says, I was living in secret about what I was doing during the massages, and I did not want my friends to know what I was doing. So I did not want anyone else coming into that. Question, was Bill Clinton a friend of Jeffrey Epstein's? Objection, foundation. Okay, let me back up. Do you know if Bill Clinton was a friend of Jeffrey Epstein? Answer, I knew he had dealings with Bill Clinton. I did not know they were friends until I read the Vanity Fair article about them going to Africa together. Did Jeffrey ever talk to you about Bill Clinton? Answer, he said one time that Clinton likes them young, referring to girls. That's the most damning thing in all of the documents about Bill Clinton is in this deposition, in this question and answer from the attorney. Did Jeffrey ever talk to you about Bill Clinton? Her response was, he said one time that Clinton likes them young. Did you ever, or do you recall ever taking a trip to Jeffrey Epstein's home in New Mexico? She says yes. So she goes on to talk about her time. Here's another excerpt from the documents. This is an excerpt from a reporter, Sharon Churcher, who did stories on Virginia Giuffre and her recollection of her time with Epstein and the times that she talked about Bill Clinton. This has since been retracted. So Virginia Giuffre has since come out and said, okay, I didn't actually fly with him. I didn't actually meet him. I don't know anything. However, there are then counter accusations to that there was a payoff or that there was some silencing which we'll get to, especially when it gets to Dershowitz. It gets a little bit more pointed where they say, well, you worked yourself into the settlement and so that you wouldn't be implicated. And that's how then the victim ended up saying, no, I never did anything or saw anything. And it was all because it was part of a settlement. So they go on. She talks about the article authored by Sharon Churcher, which you could read, but I'm going to read you a little bit of it. She says, quote, on one occasion, she adds that Epstein, talking about Virginia Giuffre, she adds that Epstein did invite two young brunettes to dinner, which he gave on his Caribbean island for Mr. Clinton shortly after he left office. But as far as she knows, the ex-president did not take the bait. I'd been about 17 at the time, she says. I flew to the Caribbean with Jeffrey and then Ghislaine Maxwell and went to pick up Bill in a huge black helicopter that Jeffrey bought her. She'd always wanted to fly, and Jeffrey paid for her to take lessons, and I remember she was very excited because she got her license around the first year we met. I used to get frightened flying with her, but Bill had the Secret Service with him, and I remember him talking about what a good job she did. I only met Bill twice, but Jeffrey told me they were good friends. So then she says that they dined together that night, that Bill Jeffrey was at the head of the table. Bill was sitting to his left. She said she sat across from him. Emmy Taylor, Ghislaine's blonde British assistant, sat at my right. Ghislaine was at Bill's left. And at the left of Ghislaine, there was two olive-skinned brunettes who'd flown in with us from New York. I'd never met them before. I'd say they were no older than 17, very innocent looking. They weren't there for me. They weren't there for Jeffrey or Ghislaine because I was there to have sex with Jeffrey on that trip. Maybe Jeffrey thought they would entertain Bill, but I saw no evidence that he was interested in them. He and Jeffrey and Ghislaine seemed to have a very good relationship. Bill was very funny. He made me laugh a few times. And he and Jeffrey and Ghislaine told blokey jokes, and the brunettes listened politely and giggled. After dinner, I gave Jeffrey an erotic massage. I don't remember seeing Bill again on the trip, but I assume Ghislaine flew him back. Then Sharon Churcher recalls, this is also in the court documents. Her article makes the court documents. That was under an article that she wrote, Teenage Girl Recruited by Pedophile Jeffrey Epstein Reveals How She Met Bill Clinton Twice. The second time that she mentions meeting him, quote, the next big, it was called the Billionaires Playboy Club. She says, the next big dinner party on the island had another significant guest appearance, being the one and only Bill Clinton. He's the only president in the world to be dismissed from his role as a world leader because he was caught with his trousers around his ankles and had the stain to prove it. Publicly humiliating his wife and himself, he retired from his title, but not from his lifestyle. This wasn't a big party as such, only a few of us eating at the dinner table. There was Jeffrey at the head of the table. from us was Bill with two lovely girls who were visiting from New York. Bill's wife, Hillary's absence from that night made it easy for his apparent provocative, cheeky side to come out, teasing the girls on either side of him with playful pokes and brassy comments. There was no modesty between any of them. We all finished our meals and scattered in our own different directions. So, yeah, that is now. This has then been, once again, in the actual testimony. Virginia Giuffre is asked about this, about these articles, and she then retracts what she says. She said she did not meet Bill Clinton, that he did not fly with Ghislaine. However, where things don't really quite add up is that in Ghislaine's trial, she admitted to flying Bill Clinton around one time. So even though Virginia Giuffre said, no, it never happened at all, the Ghislaine testimony actually says, well, yeah, it did, at least one time did, but Ghislaine she kind of brushed it off as, no, it wasn't a big deal. It was, brief. It was real quick. I just picked him up one time, no big deal. So there's that. There's a lot of inconsistency in the Jeffrey Epstein case. You're just going to find inconsistency throughout, from victim to perp or whatever, or accused perp, I should say. So the defense in the court documents denied Clinton meetings ever happened. They said that every part of the plaintiff's claims regarding President Clinton has conclusively been proven false. Former FBI Director Louis Freeh submitted a report wherein he concluded that President Clinton did not, in fact, travel to, nor was he present on Little St. James Island between January 1st of 2001 and January 1st of 2003. They said if any Secret Service agents had accompanied Clinton to that location, they would have been required to make the file shift logs, travel vouchers, and related documentation relating to the visit. And there was a total absence of any such documentation. I have a hard time, presidents, former sitting presidents receive Secret Service forever. I can't imagine that Secret Service, there's going to be a lot of times where that person's doing things quite private. And it's not illegal what they're doing. Like, obviously, Bill Clinton flying to Little St. James Island or whatever, that's not illegal. It's not illegal to fly to Jeffrey Epstein's private island. But it might be something that you want to keep private because you might do something illegal there and you don't want people to know about it. But also, you don't want to be implied or implicated into whatever this person's a bit seedy and you don't want to be implicated in that. So I don't know exactly how Secret Service gets around that. I can't imagine they're actually logging every move that a former sitting president makes for a complete lack of privacy. There's got to be a workaround. That's just what I'm thinking. I don't know. Maybe they lose all privacy for the rest of their lives. But I can't really imagine that. So when this person says, oh, this is absolutely false because Secret Service would have all kinds of documentation of this, I don't know. Is that true? Is that really true? Do they really lose privacy for the rest of their lives just because they were once president for 4 years or for 8 years? It seems a little bit, I don't know. That just doesn't quite add up to me. But a lot of this is not adding up. But that was what was said about Bill Clinton. So the worst thing that was said in all of the documents was that he was spotted a couple of times. That was also rebuffed in the documents. And at the same time, the very worst thing that was said about Bill Clinton is Joanna saying that that he likes them young, that he was told that by Epstein that he likes young girls. Let's move on to another former sitting president, Donald Trump. Trump was mentioned in the deposition also of Johanna Soberg. She mentioned him very briefly. People are saying, oh, Trump's name was in it. Trump's name was in it. His name did appear twice. This is what was said. She was questioned. The question was, she was going through all of these names of people. Did you meet these people or did you have sex with these people in any way? And she says, George Lucas. She says, no. Donald Trump, no. Did you ever massage Donald Trump? No. Sorry, I have to ask, but did you ever have sex with Alan Dershowitz in the back of a limousine with Virginia and Jeffrey present? And she said, and then there was an objection and she said, absolutely not. So Donald Trump's name was mentioned in those two times. He was named again in another document. This one was, she said, as we were flying, Jeffrey said, why don't you go sit in the cockpit to check out the landing? So we were sitting there and the pilot told me to go back and tell him that we can't land in New York and that we're going to have to land in Atlantic City. Jeffrey said, great, we'll call up Trump and we'll go to I don't recall the name of the casino, but we'll go to a casino. So that's how Trump's name was mentioned in these documents. Asking, have you ever been with Donald Trump or met Donald Trump? The answer being no. And this then question of, or this instance of Donald Trump's name being mentioned on a trip to Atlantic City to potentially go to a casino. So that's it. So there was no discussion of Donald Trump being good friends with Epstein or that Donald Trump likes I'm young, nothing like what was implied about Bill Clinton, about Donald Trump, very benign about Donald Trump, very few instances of anything at all in relation to his name. Prince Andrew, so he's been at the center of quite a bit of this. There's been a lot of chatter about Prince Andrew. Let's go through what was mentioned about him. Now, we know a lot of this already, but we'll just go through it again. Jane Doe 3, who was someone recruited when she was about 15 years old, according to these documents. They did not release the name of Jane Doe 3. But they said that Epstein forced Jane Doe 3 to have sexual relations with a member of the British royal family, Prince Andrew, aka Duke of York. Jane Doe 3 was forced to have sexual relations with this prince when she was a minor in 3 separate geographical locations: in London, at Ghislaine Maxwell's apartment, in New York, and on Epstein's private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands, in an orgy with numerous other underage girls. Epstein instructed Jane Doe 3 that she was to give the prince whatever he demanded and required Jane Doe 3 to report back to him on the details of the sexual abuse. It's called blackmail operation. Maxwell facilitated Prince Andrew's acts of sexual abuse by acting as a madame for Epstein, therefore assisting in internationally trafficking Jane Doe 3 and numerous other young girls for sexual purposes. Here's another one where it says that Joanna confirmed, so this is something, also a piece of the court documents, Joanna confirmed that she witnessed Virginia when she was 17 in Jeffrey Epstein's New York mansion with Prince Andrew and Ghislaine Maxwell. Joanna also testified that Prince Andrew sat with Virginia and Joanna and took a picture with a puppet in his image, and that had its hand and Prince Andrew's hand on their respective breasts. Here's also part of the deposition. This is with Joanna saying, what happened at that point when you came up to the living room? So she's saying that she went to Jeffrey Epstein's house. Said, when I first walked in the door, it was just myself and Ghislaine headed for the staircase, and said it told me to come up to the living room. And what happened at that point when you went to the living room? Answer, I came up and saw Virginia, Jeffrey, Prince Andrew, Ghislaine in the room. Question, and did you meet Prince Andrew at the time? Answer, yes. Question, and what happened next? Answer, at one point, Ghislaine told me to come upstairs, and we went into a closet and pulled out the puppet and the caricature of Prince Andrew and brought it down, and there was a little tag on the puppet that said Prince Andrew on it, and that's when I knew who he was. Question, and what did the puppet look like? Answer, it looked like him, and she brought it down and presented it to him. And that was a great joke because apparently it was a production from a show on BBC, and they decided to take a picture with it in which Virginia and Andrew sat. Let me pull up the second part of this. Well, I guess I don't have this. Well, but she goes over and says that they sat and then they put the hand on the breasts of the girl. So then they go on to say, were you told, all right, Ghislaine Maxwell told you to give a massage to, this is a redacted name. Not sure why that name is redacted, but the name was redacted. Correct? She says correct. Ghislaine Maxwell told you to give a massage to Prince Andrew. Correct? Correct. Ghislaine Maxwell told you to give a massage to Bill Richardson, correct? That is the former governor of New Mexico. He's now dead. Correct. When did Ghislaine Maxwell tell you to give a massage to Bill Richardson? I don't know the dates. Okay. So these are parts of the deposition. So with Prince Andrew saying that the real damning thing with Prince Andrew is not the hand on the breast as much, of course, that is because the girl was underage, but of Jane Doe 3 being said to have sexual relations with the British royal family, Prince Andrew. She was forced to have sexual relations with this prince when she was a minor in 3 separate geographical locations: London, New York, and on the Epstein private island. So pretty damning against Prince Andrew.